February 19th, 2019, Pico de Orizaba, Mexico. Pico de Orizaba is the third highest point in North America and is the second most prominent volcanic peak on Earth. It is located 4 hours southeast of Mexico City and rises to an elevation of 18,491 feet. For this climb, I teamed up with a friend of a friend who was also into climbing and had some international experience. In climbing, it's not always about what you do. Sometimes it's more about how you do it. And for this climb, we wanted to plan out something special. So we planned out a north-south traverse of the mountain, starting at Piedra Grande at around 13,500 feet, rising all the way to the top at 18,000, and then back down the south side of the mountain to Refuge Gomar at 15,289 feet. Now, we spent a few days acclimatizing at 10,000 feet, before making the rough 4x4 road to Piedra Grande. Now, the native name for Pico de Orizaba, the mountain, is Citlaltépetl, and Citl meaning star, and Tepetl meaning mountain. And so that's Star Mountain. And I think it gets its name from Mexico's one and only permanent glacier here, as you see these bands of sunlight always beaming off the mountain. And that's just something that is also, it's not just in the photograph, that's something is, that's you experience that in real life there too. So there's the Piedra Grande Refuge. And what we did is we wanted to make it up to high camp in order to camp there for a night. And the tricky part about this is the most tricky part of the climb, because you have to cross at this specific area. Otherwise, it canyons out up mountain and down mountain as well. It's impassable. And then most hazardously is what you see on the left-hand side here. This is an area known as the Labyrinth. Now, the Labyrinth is an infamous part of the climb, which is a confusing maze of rock and ice that is just pushed out by the Yamapa Glacier. And so we camped there for a night, which gave us the opportunity to kind of scout our route out ahead of time. So you see Jason there, and then our tent hole, and then off to the left is kind of the route that you go through the labyrinth. And the tricky thing about this photograph is also that each one of those rocks is probably between, 10 to 15 feet high. So even if you would like climb to the top of the other one to, one of them to try and see over the next one, you couldn't. And it's just this maze. So it gave us the opportunity to scout it out ahead of time, especially because we knew we were going to be doing it in the dark. So we woke up about midnight and we started ascending the glacier. And then right at about the base here is when we strapped on the crampons. And the reason that we did this is we wanted to be real high up on the mountain when the sun came up. And this is really this was done on purpose because basically the mountain is a perfect cone. And so when the sun comes up from the east over the Gulf of Mexico, it projects the shadow of the mountain over the western horizon. And this whole phenomenon only lasts for like 10 minutes. So I'll give you an idea of exactly what we're talking about here. So here's kind of the maximum pitch of the glacier. That's looking east. You see the sun kind of rolling in off the Gulf of Mexico. So this is looking west now. And a couple things about this photo to set the stage here is that this is the moon setting. So this is actually looking west, and that is the moon. That's February 19th, 2019. That's the largest moon. That's a super moon. That's the largest moon of calendar year 2019. So, and then that mountain that we see in the foreground here, that's called La Malinche. Malinche as we'll refer to it. And so a series of photos here now, we see Malinche in the foreground. We see what appears to be the sun setting. That's not the sun, that's the moon. And now we see the shadow of the mountain that I'm standing on. And you'll see how this they were zoomed in a little bit. We see Malinche, and that looks like the sun. That's not the sun, that's the moon. And then the whole phenomenon becomes super obvious. They're zoomed in again. We see Malinche in the foreground. And then this whole event just kind of lasts about 10 minutes. Here's Jason. And you see on the bottom there, that's the last of the shadow event. Here's Jason racing towards the summit. Now we're looking to have a peek down inside the crater rim. Look Looking east now, the clouds rolling in off the Gulf of Mexico. Looking south by southeast, inside the crater rim. Looking directly east, clouds rolling in off the Gulf of Mexico. Jason at the summit. Me at the summit. And then this is down the backside of the mountain. A couple of creepy things about the backside of the mountain is there was a blown out helicopter disaster that happened there a number of years ago that you kind of had to walk around. So that was kind of eerie. And then you can kind of see the hut down here in the middle. Coming down the backside of the mountain, it looks pretty close, but it would be about 3.5 hours before we reached that hut. And this is all volcanic scree and ash down the backside of the mountain, so it really just kind of got everywhere. It really obstructed my vision. I had troubles with that on the way down. And then there's Jason coming down the backside of the mountain. You can actually see the summit way up there. And then a time series of that shadow event that we saw. And then to close it out, one of my favorite views, this is from the lodge in 10,000 feet that we acclimatized at, and then Popocatépetl or Popo was blown up and given us a little show every night. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This has been True Stories of Adventure. My name is Mitch Winnicky.